Once upon a time, in a bustling village filled with cheerful laughter and music, there lived a girl named Zara. She was a nurse midwife. Zara was known for one thing, her endless talking, which disgusted everyone close by her, from sunrise to sunset. She spoke about anything and everything. She gossiped, even in her dreams. She had a kind heart, but sometimes her chatter was so constant that people in the village would quietly move away to avoid being caught in her endless stream of words. In the same village, there lived a man named Rimo, who was known for being the nicest man anyone had ever seen. Rimo stood barely up to the waist of most villagers. Despite his small stature, he was incredibly kind, gentle, and wise. People often overlooked Rimo, focusing on his height and underestimating his wisdom. But Rimo didn't mind. He went about his life with quiet dignity, fixing shoes and carving beautiful wooden sculptures. Everyone knew him in the village as a nice man. One day, Zara's parents became worried. She was growing older, and while many young men in the village admired her beauty, they were all hesitant to marry someone who never stopped talking. After all, how could they ever get a word in? Zara, too, wondered why no one seemed interested in her, despite her charms. Meanwhile, Rimo watched Zara from afar. He noticed how she seemed lonely, despite being surrounded by people. He admired her energy and the light in her eyes. Though he had never spoken more than a few words to her, he knew that, like him, she was misunderstood. One evening, during a village festival, Zara grew frustrated that no one wanted to dance with her. She sat alone, watching everyone else have fun. Just then, Rimo approached her, his small frame barely noticeable in the crowd. "Would you like to dance?" he asked, his voice quiet but steady. But something about his calm presence intrigued her. She agreed, and they danced together under the stars. For the first time in her life, Zara found herself listening more than talking. Rimo didn't speak much, but when he did, his words were thoughtful and kind. Over the next few weeks, Zara and Rimo spent more time together. Rimo taught her how to carve wooden figurines, and Zara shared stories and laughter with him. Though Zara still talked a lot, she began to appreciate the value of silence, especially when she was with Rimo. He never interrupted her, never made her feel small for her talkative nature. Instead, he embraced it, knowing that beneath all the words, Zara had a beautiful soul. One day, Rimo asked Zara to marry him. The villagers were shocked. How could the talkative girl marry the shortest man in the village? Surely, they thought, Zara would want someone tall, handsome, and commanding. But Zara, by now, had realized something important. Rimo saw her for who she truly was, and his kindness and wisdom far outweighed any physical traits. Their wedding was a simple yet joyful celebration. Though people gossiped and murmured at first, Zara and Rimo's happiness soon became the talk of the village. Over time, Zara's chatter grew less overwhelming, and she learned to balance speaking with listening. And Rimo, though still the shortest man in the village, stood taller in everyone's eyes because of his wisdom and gentle heart. Together, they lived in harmony, teaching the villagers that love isn't about appearances or how much one speaks, but about understanding, patience, and embracing each other's differences. And so, the tale of the talkative girl and the shortest man in the village became a story passed down for generations, a reminder that true love sees beyond the surface and finds beauty in the heart. One evening, after many months of marriage, Zara's curiosity got the best of her. She begged husband to tell her his true nature. Reluctantly, he revealed that he was once the prince of an ancient, magical race, but he had been cursed to live as a short man in exile for 1,000 years. The only way to break the curse was for someone to love him without knowing his secret. However, Zara's relentless questioning had now broken the balance. With a flash of light, he began to shrink further, becoming no more than a whisper of wind. He warned her that she could save him, but only by learning to hold her tongue and listening more than she spoke. Distraught and desperate to save her husband, she vowed to change her ways. In the end, transformation was the true twist of the tale, as she learned the power of silence, and her husband returned, taller and stronger than before, but no longer a prisoner of the curse. They lived together happily, in a quiet understanding. As her found a balance between speaking and silence, the villagers would wonder at the sudden change in the once talkative girl. But she had learned that true communication was more than just words. It was knowing when to speak and when to listen. And thus, the folktale of the talkative girl and the man became a lesson for generations to come. This a story of love, no boundaries. With love, unreal things can happen, especially when you find a real love, who love you just as you're. But in a word we lived in, love is not valued again. Money built happiness as it is seen today. Thank you for watching. I pray we find that true happiness and live someday.